everyone. It's so lovely to see you here today. We've got a big old heat wave in the UK, and yes, I know you guys have it way worse, but try moving over here, not so nice. I have Rodney Turner. I reached out and begged him to be on here. I hear about his podcast like 24 hours a day, tiny bit jealous. He is like everyone's favorite host and interviewer, and he's one of our beloved narrators. And you've been around a long time, Rodney. So I'm gonna start with a simple question.
Okay.
Rodney, tell me about 10-year-old Rodney.
Oh gosh. 10-year-old Rodney was 4 years from deciding he wanted to be an air traffic controller.
Are you serious? Are you kidding?
No, I'm positive. I was 6
You
years
decided when you were 14.
when I was 6.
Wow. Okay, go ahead. Tell me the story.
My father worked for Southern Bell, and
Okay.
one of his jobs, because of where we lived, during hurricanes in South Florida, he was responsible for keeping all the telephone lines, communication lines open during a hurricane in the air traffic control facilities. And I always wanted to go. So when I was 6, Hurricane Cleo, I'm going to say 64. It was the summer. It was the best summer of my life. We got to go to Disneyland. If you can imagine driving in a station wagon from Miami to LA to go to
How old were you?
I was just shy of 7. I was 6 years. Old.
That's idyllic. That's like the perfect age.
Yeah, it was like the bomb.
Brothers and sisters?
Two older sisters. Yeah.
Okay.
So Dad comes to me and says, "Hey, Hoss, you want to go with me to work?" And I thought he was joking. I looked at my mom and she said, "If you want to go ahead." I was like, "Yeah, anything to get away." Because when Dad goes, it's just me and I get bossed around by my sisters. I was like, "I'm out of here." So yeah, I got to go, and he let me stay on the floor with the air traffic controllers, and they just treated me like I was either their son or their grandson. And one of them put me up on his knee, and I got to watch what he was doing, and I was mesmerized, and I swore I was going to be one day. And when my junior year of high school, when all the military branches come and all the guys at the time, it was just guys, you all got to get out of class so you could sit in the auditorium for 2 hours, and you got to miss all your crappy classes and listen to everybody give their pitch. I knew I wanted to be in the Navy because that's what Dad was in. I looked specifically for air traffic controller, and I found it. And I told the guy, I said, "This is what I want to do." And he just kind of looked at me. He went, "Really?"
Were you really close to your father?
Yes.
Yeah,
we were
I can
very
see.
close.
James wants to know, how many times did you say, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" on your way to Disney?
Oh, we didn't do that a lot because Dad was one of the "don't make me pull this over and come back there." So yeah, we didn't do that a lot. And we knew that if we wanted to go to the bathroom, we'd whisper in Mama's ear, "Mama, don't you have to go to the bathroom?" Because if Mom needed to go, Dad's pulling over. He'd let the kids, you just wet yourself. It don't matter. But if Mama needed to go, he'd find a place to go, and then we all get to go. So, my sisters had that, they had like the secret message with the mom, with Mom, and Mom would understand the clue, and then everybody would pull over because I was in the back doing the pee-pee dance.
So you were a very determined little boy, from what I'm hearing. You sounded like a...
According to everybody that met me, I had ADHD, but we didn't have medicine. We had take you to the woodshed. Dad, I went to the woodshed a lot. The only teacher that ever let me get away with being me was my kindergarten teacher. I was on top of desks. I was under desks. She thought I was cute, according to her. It carried on through 3rd grade. I had a perfect life all the way up through 3rd grade. And then when I got to my 3rd grade teacher, the very first parent teacher meeting, My third grade teacher, Mrs. Blitz, God bless her soul, she's the first teacher I had that had both my sisters as well,
Mm.
both 4 and 6 years older. And she had the nerve to tell my dad, who thought I was just a normal boy, that I was smarter than both my sisters put together. Well, then he decided he'd spend the next 9 years telling me that I wasn't applying myself, which was probably true, but I was skating through life, So, but yeah, I knew I wanted to be an air traffic controller. After that, I became one in the Navy. And yeah, that's, 10-year-old Rodney was just waiting for that chance,
What did the Navy teach you? Was it hard? Was it scary when you first got
No,
there? Was it like
it's
different
kind
than
of,
you expected?
no, the Navy boot camp back then was hard, but because I grew up with a Southern Baptist conservative Christian dad, dad grew up in an orphanage in Virginia. He had no male role models. Um, all of his leaders and leadership role models were women out of the orphanage. And then my grandmother on my mother's side. And he, but he was a disciplinarian. You didn't get away with anything at his house. So when I went into boot camp and this guy's barking at me and screaming at me, I thought it's like Saturday afternoon, it was no big deal for me. I would just do what I was told and that was it. And the guys that didn't have fathers back then, they said, how are you dealing with this? And I said, just do what you're told, man. It's pretty simple. And that's kind of the way I was. So the Navy, basically, I don't know that the Navy taught me anything about life other than you can live on your own. You can make it all by yourself.
Mm.
I went to a Mediterranean cruise on an aircraft carrier. I served for 2 years on shore duty outside Pensacola at a training base.
Were you ever scared? Did you ever have a moment where you were scared in the military?
No, I guess I was fortunate that I was what I call a tweener. I was after Vietnam and before anything else ever happened. The worst thing that happened on our way back, I think, from the Mediterranean, the time frame was in the late 70s. An incident happened in Angola, and it was kind of nothing. It was no big deal. Nobody went. They didn't make us turn around and go back. It was just like, come on home. No big deal for you. Your guys are, your mission is done. So, so head home. But there was never any fear of any of that. I was fortunate. We were at peacetime. But at
You
the
seem
time,
like not a fearful person in general. Are you a generally relaxed person? Do you worry about the
am
future?
now.
Do you live in the
I think
moment?
that growing up, I was afraid of dad almost all the time because I was mischievous and dad, you did wrong, and dad whipped your butt. I mean, I hated getting spankings. And that's just what happened. When you misbehaved, you broke the rules, you didn't follow the rules, you got a butt whipping. That's just the way it was.
I can relate to that. We were terrified of our father.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we almost never got hit because we were so afraid of what would happen.
right.
So we made sure we didn't get caught.
Yeah. My older sisters, both my sisters, they were what I call perfect. In fact, my oldest sister graduated high school with honors, went to college, married a preacher. They both went into missionaries, became missionaries to Japan, were missionaries to Japan for 35 years. And then about a year or two apart, 2000, I want to say 2012 to 2015, they both died of cancer.
I'm sorry.
The other sister is still living in Jacksonville, and she's still perfect. She does everything she touches turns to gold, and she's a sweetheart. I was the troublemaker. I always had been, but twice I was able when during our lives apart, they would call me and tell me they needed me, and I got to go and be the bad guy and help help a nephew, help a niece do something that they just weren't equipped to do. And it was nothing illegal, but it was kind of fun being the crazy
Hey,
uncle and
I
the
do
uncle who could sing.
thrillers, so I mean, my
So,
level of what
yeah.
would shock me right, is
Yeah. So
Lisa has a
yeah,
question for you.
all my fear, I think, left. And then I was very fortunate in 2009 and late 2009, early 2010, before Dad passed away, to be able to give back to him a little bit. Mom had passed away in '89. He had gotten remarried. Then he got dementia, and his wife got mad because we weren't a family that gathered around like her family was
Yeah.
every Sunday. You know, we just didn't. Mom taught us to be independent. Please go out and make a life for yourself and invite us over if you care. Um, uh, his second wife was one that they just, I mean, they gathered around together and they lived within minutes of each other, and they did that all their lives, you know. So it
I
was
think if
different
you're
for
not
us.
raised that way, it's hard to understand that,
It
because we
is.
weren't raised that way. I
I
find it,
understood it. I
yeah, I
understood
find it
because,
uncomfortable. I would feel
yeah,
suffocated.
I knew they were raised that way. I'll never forget. I'll never forget after he married her, Dad had complained to me on a visit that I didn't call him very often. So I made it a New Year's resolution. I started calling him every Monday. So about the fourth Monday, he said, "What's the matter?" I said, "What do you mean, what's the matter? Why are you calling me?" I said, "You complained. You complained at Thanksgiving that I didn't call you enough, so I call." He said, "You don't have to do that. No, don't. Just call me when you need something." Okay, I was just calling to see how you're doing. So 6 weeks later, "Hey, don't ever call me." "I know, Dad, because you told me not to." He said, "I know.
But
I just
he's
want to give
hearing
you,
it from his
yeah."
new wife.
He said, I just want to give you grief." And I said, "Okay." So yeah, and that's kind of the way it was. It was, yeah.
Okay, I have a question. We've got to make sure to
Sure.
intersperse the questions as we go, or I'll
Okay.
get behind.
Right.
Lisa wants to know, did 10-year-old Rodney have the voice?
No, the voice came, it was kind of funny. The voice came right between 13 and 14, maybe between seventh and eighth grade. Um, it was the strangest thing because it just went from being a regular kid to all of a sudden my minister of music was asking me to sing bass with Dad, and Dad was just staring at me like I was from Pluto because I was hitting notes that none of the men could hit. And I mean, I enjoyed singing. I've been singing since I was 3 years old, in church choir, and that's just kind of how it hit. It you know, good Lord changed it, and I was stuck with it.
Okay, so tell me, and I'll edit it. I'll edit this out if you
You
don't
don't
want to
have
talk
to
about
edit
it.
anything out
But
on my account.
what happened? Did you find out what caused your problems with your voice? When did you? I'd love to hear about that, just
Oh, sure.
because I'm a total health
I want to
anxious
say it
fool.
was probably February, March timeframe of 2021. I was, I was getting 1, 2 books a month from Tantor, cowboy stuff and westerns. I was doing some thrillers for Independent Guy through ACX. I was doing some what we call Southern Fried Horror from a local Tennessee writer, and I was just busy. And I normally do an hour and a half to 2 hours of finished audio every day. When I get there, I just stop. Not for any other reason that I just think that's a nice, comfortable place to stop. And I know that if I have a 10, 12-hour book, I can knock it out in 6 days or less. And that gives me fudge room on either side if I'm prepping or if I have some glitch in the family happen. So I got to the point where I could tell that at an hour and 5 minutes, I would start to get really tired. Then I would get to 45 minutes and my voice would start to go out. And right there at the end, before I called the doctor, I want to say it was April. It took me 3 days to finish the last 10 minutes of audio for a book.
Had anything else been going on with your health, or was it, and you just didn't?
Well, the funny thing, I had my wife and I had told my wife I thought I needed to lose a little weight, so I started going on a low carb diet, and I lost some. I mean, I was at probably 320, 325 pounds at a time. I had gotten down to about 250. And I mean, I was, going to the gym. I was walking around the hayfield every
That's what I
morning.
want to do, because
I was,
it did help your
doing
narrating. It feels
doing
like
all
it
sorts
would.
of stuff. And when I went and saw the vocal specialist at Vanderbilt, which is, the place where everybody goes here in Middle Tennessee, he said, "Have you lost a lot of weight recently?" I said, "Yeah, I have." He said, "Well, this could cause that." I said, "Are you sure?" I said,
Why?
"Losing weight?" I said, I got to tell you, if I had known losing weight was going to cause this, I could have looked my doctor in the eye and said, "Dude, I got to be fat to keep my voice, so leave me alone."
I don't understand. I thought that, like, if I lost weight, I
Well,
would be a better narrator. Why does that
when
happen?
what he told me later was that's not what I meant. What I meant is if you lose a sudden amount of weight, so people that get the lap band or people that go on crash diets and they'll lose 30, 40 pounds in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, which is
Those
totally what I
people,
would love to do.
oh yeah, those people end up, a lot of them, he said, have those problems. He said, that's not your issue.
But
So
do you know why, or why that
no,
would cause
he,
it?
he said it was an unknown, unidentifiable virus. So, I immediately said COVID. And he said, no, had nothing to do with that. I said, so vocal rest? He said, oh no, talk as much as you want. He said, it's not going to matter. I said,
Oh.
okay. He said, but don't, if you hear it's wore out, he said, don't bother, so I didn't.
But
So
no
basically
diagnosis at that point? He wasn't telling you what it was?
yeah, he had it was a 4-word thing that I just, at the time I remembered, it was like, partial vocal cord paralysis,
Oh
something
my
or other.
God. You
And
don't
it was,
tell an audiobook
yeah.
narrator that.
Well, the good thing is this vocal clinic, I felt really good when I walked in, because all around their walls are all these country music artists and all these rock artists and all these musicians and all these singers. And I mean, they've all got plaques up on the wall where these people have helped them. And he told me, he said, since you're a pro and use your voice for work, he says, I'm going to treat you differently than I would treat mom and pop coming in just because they can't, talk very well. He says, I'm going to do something different for you. I said, okay. So he said, I know this is going to sound weird. He said, we're use Botox. We're going to put Botox behind your vocal cord
I've heard of
to
that.
shore it up and kind of, he says, you got one hanging. He says, you're going to put it back in its place and that'll help it work better. I said, okay. He says, if that doesn't work, he said, we might have to do it again. I said, why Botox? He says, well, because it goes away. I said, oh, that's cool. He says, yeah. He says, that's why plastic surgeons use it. Because it goes away. You got to come back. You got to get another treatment. You can, he said, we keep charging you. He says, yeah, that's why they use it. He said, they don't like us using it. He said, but we use it anyways.
6 months.
So yeah, I went in for, matter of fact, I think 2 days ago was the anniversary of the surgery. They laid me on my back, knocked me out. And apparently they put this cylinder in my mouth while I'm, out, keeps my mouth and jaw open. And they laid me backwards. And then he sat down and with a scope and everything else all the way down through the throat and did his injection. And he said, when I got out, he said, yeah, it went great. He said, it's wonderful. He says, I think it's going to work. He said, we'll see how it goes. And then I went back, I had speech therapist and speech pathologist both to meet with. And of course, because of the time frame, we met like this over Zoom, did a lot of exercises, got a lot of water with a straw and a lot of blowing into it and stuff like that I still use to this day. When I told them I did they asked me my routine. And I talked about hydration. I talked about almost 1.5 gallons of water a day. I talked to them about using a neti pot every day. And the speech pathologist and speech therapist were both ecstatic. They thought that was cool. And I said, well, I've heard a lot of people tell me that the salt is bad. And they both said, no, if it works for you, it works for you. If it's bad for you, then stop. but if it's
Yeah.
working for you, keep doing it. So I have, and oddly enough, I've not had the flu, virus, anything since I started that in 2018. Not even so much as a sore throat. So we fast forward to probably into August, into September, first week of October. He saw me. I reached out to three of my favorite coaches, Carol Monda, Sean Pratt, and Johnny Heller. I recorded a piece about 3 minutes. I said, I'm sending this to you. You know what I sound like. You know what I do, my work. I just, without telling you anything, I just need you to tell me what you hear, if anything. And Johnny, and it was kind of funny, Johnny said exactly what I needed to hear. Sounds like you're talking out of your face instead of back in your throat. I thought, good, because that's exactly what the speech therapist told me was my problem. For years, I guess since I was 13, I would immediately go to way back in the throat when I talked because that was cool. But they told me that that's my problem. You wore your throat out. You wore your vocal cords out doing that. If you need
but Johnny was saying that you were doing the opposite.
Yeah, because I was learning to do the opposite. She had to teach
but was
me.
Johnny saying that as a bad thing or as a good thing?
No,
because I'm trying to learn to do that. I talk back here.
No, Johnny wasn't saying it was bad. Johnny said that was just what he heard.
Oh,
and
okay.
I needed him to hear that because that's what I was shooting for.
Okay.
I have a pitch pipe in my a pitch pipe app on my phone. I hit a pitch pipe.
What's that?
So I'll hit middle C and I'll hum middle C, and that's where I start my narration from. And that way it helps me to talk out of my mask, feel the buzz.
I want that. Can you send me the link to that app after the call?
It's just called Perfect Pitch Pipe. It's from Swift Scales. I'm sure you can just download it anywhere.
I'm gonna do that. You're a genius.
But it's it's not me. It's my my speech therapist told me to do it because she said, you need to get up there so that when you do need to go back in your throat for a voice or a character, then you won't have to stay there so long. So that's kind of what I do. If I feel myself get tired, I blow the straw in the water, do some scales, and it kind of resets everything. I go back to my pitch pipe and I finish for the day. I'm now back to a good hour and 15 to an hour and a half a day when I'm recording. But, like I said, the work's kind of dried up. I believe that the work that's mine is going to come to me. I'm just in a dry spell. Who cares? I'm lucky. I'm very fortunate because I am retired. All my ends meet. I don't have to be concerned about, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to pay the bills,
But also, as I said, it's right now, it's weird because I don't know why, because I think because I go on about how to get through dry spells to people.
Sure.
I'm lucky enough that when people go through dry spells, they send me messages, which was a bit disconcerting in the beginning, but it's funny because the last 2 years I've noticed a trend. And it's that a lot of people go through the quote unquote dry spell at the same time. So it's not actually a dry spell, although it feels like it to that individual person.
It could be cyclical. It could be cyclical where, I'm only, I was telling somebody this the other day, while I've got more than 200 books to my credit, I still feel very much like a beginner.
Good.
I've only got,
narrator.
I've only got one one publisher, Tantor, that has provided me steady work. I have done some work with Dreamscape, but none of the others have reached out to me. But I'm not the kind that worries about that.
Okay, you're doing that humble thing. Now, let's get this straight. You are J. Rodney Turner. Everyone knows you. You've built a reputation for yourself in this industry. You've got serious website. I mean, you've got a very, very unique storytelling ability and voice. It's quite something to listen to. And you, plus you, and I want to get to the podcast as well, because I'm curious about that. So where did you meet and fall in love with your wife? Was it like Eyes Across a Crowded Room?
Actually, it was kind of funny. And you can go ahead and post this. It's not a big deal. I was going through a divorce. She worked for my then wife at the time. And she had moved to Nashville in late 80s because she was pursuing a career in country music. She's a singer.
Cool.
She happens to be my favorite singer. And she moved here for that reason, but to keep ends meet, she worked as like administrative assistant, secretary kind of stuff. And at the time, she was singing on a little showcase downtown near the Opry called the Nashville Country Showcase. And my ex-wife at the time said, I want to go to that show and hear her sing. I said, okay. So we went, my son went with us. We watched her sing and I thought she was very attractive. She came down to see us. And my son, because he likes to brag on his daddy, he was 12 at the time. He looked at her and said, let me back up. She was part of the backup group.
Okay.
They had her, another girl, and two guys. And my son says to her, just so you know, Dad sings bass way better than that guy. And I just looked at him and said, Brian, be quiet. He thought it was, well, you do. And I just said, okay. And she said, do you sing? I didn't say anything. The ex-wife says, oh, yeah, he sings pretty good. She says, well, they're going out for a month and we need a bass singer. You want to sing? I said, we'll see. Give me the information and I'll, maybe when you practice. She said tomorrow.
I can't believe you used your ex-wife as your wingman.
Hey, it was her idea. It was her idea. What am I going to do? So I get home from church. The ex-wife says, you're going to go to that rehearsal? I said, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess I'll go see what it is. She says, you'll like it. You'll like her. You'll get along. You'll probably start dating. And I just thought, yeah, we'll see. And we did. And that's fair.
Did your ex-wife get a good invite to the wedding?
No, we went off to Springfield, Tennessee on one Valentine's Day and just got married on a whim.
Oh,
come on, let's go get married.
Very romantic.
Okay, let's go. It was great. And yeah, we love our life. We decided late to, it's kind of funny. I was 48 and thought I was done with kids. And she comes to me and says, hey, I think I might want to have kids. And I said, hey, you might want to have told me that a long time ago because I'm, really old and I've been fixed. The funny part was that her best friend growing up is a partner in the Nashville Fertility Clinic. Amazing how all that works together. So we went and saw her and they took parts of me and put them with parts of her. And as the doctor said, oh yeah, we put them in there with little Barry White music. It's great. They put, I think 3 female embryos in her. And we got one little girl out. And,
how old is your little girl?
14.
Oh, I love a happy. Okay, we've got another question. Sean says, have you always been in Middle Tennessee? He happens to live 40 miles east of Knoxville.
Oh, cool. No, I grew up in Miami, left Miami for Atlanta. Well, it's outside the Navy. I went back to Miami after the Navy. I left Miami for Atlanta with Southern Bell. And while I was Southern Bell in 85 or early 86 is when the FAA called me and tracked me down and said, we're offering you a job. And I said, how soon? And they said, okay. The people at Southern Bell at the time thought I was crazy for leaving a job that good. And I was making good money.
But the day you got told you could be an air traffic controller, the minute you got told, how did it feel?
Oh, yeah. I thought finally, finally.
Yeah.
Being an air traffic controller in the Navy helped me So when I got to school in Oklahoma City, other than just studying for what they taught me, everything else was second nature. How to talk, how to speak, the phraseology, how to say numbers, how to say the words, because it's not just like we speak every day. Although if you get a pilot that gets nervous, you just go to normal everyday talking.
Because they're stressful jobs, aren't they? I mean, I heard air traffic controllers were like second to dentists in like, for some reason.
I think it depends on what poll you use, but here's what I tell everybody. I know plumbers that are nervous every day because they're not good plumbers. I know doctors who are not good doctors that get nervous every day. And if you've seen the movie Pushing 10, I know air traffic controllers who throw up into work every day because they're not real good. If you're not real good at what you do and don't have competence, you're going to have stress.
I know so many actors that do that. And one of them actually told me, because I didn't get stage fright, that I wasn't any good.
Yeah. And I used to tell people the best air traffic controllers are the silverbacks, the guys that walk in, they own the place, they know they're good, and they sit down and they just commence to working.
What does it take to be good? What does being good in that job mean?
It means being able to remember what the rules are and apply them properly in a split second.
Okay.
That's all it is. If you know your rules and you know the regulations and you know what's appropriate, then all you have to do is apply them right now.
So when you retired from being an air traffic controller, did you know ahead of time that you wanted to pursue narrating, or did that happen later? Were you depressed about leaving?
Here's the beauty of being an air traffic controller. When you hire on, if you decide you want to be an air traffic controller for the rest of your career, you know the exact day that you'll retire, the day you hire, because they will not let you work past the last day of the month in which you turn age 56. So wow. I knew that Halloween of 2013, I was retired because I didn't want to be in management. I didn't want to be a supervisor. I just wanted to be a controller and talk to airplanes. And that's what I did. So sure enough, Halloween 2013, I retired. Now in 2006, shortly after my wife says she wants to have a child, we decided I needed to do something because we weren't going to be able to raise a child really on retirement money. We'd really had to do a little more than that. So I started looking around for things, and because of she had decided she didn't want to be in the music business. So, but she still had a lot of contacts in the music business. So she reached out to them to find out about voiceover stuff. And I took a couple local classes. I found the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, where they taught me a lot of things about editing with an old program called Cool Edit Pro, which is now, I guess, Adobe Audition. And it's kind of where I learned radio imaging. They really taught all the genres of voiceover. Plus, they taught you how to work a board at a radio station if that's what you wanted to do and become a DJ. You could take your certificate there and go be an intern for a local radio station if you wanted. And the reason I got into it and the reason I went with them is because once you graduated, they gave you free studio for life. I thought, this is great. And because of my age and because of my work, I had a key and I went in 24 hours a day. So I'd get off before the midnight shift and I'd go back in and I'd start. This is back when I was on Voice 123 and I could do auditions for nothing. I didn't have to have a home studio.
I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you seem very young. You when you refer to your age and everything, it's funny because I can't separate you from 10-year-old 10-year-old Rodney.
Yeah, well,
do you feel young?
That's because I'm fairly immature.
But I wonder if it's immature or if it's just a young mentality.
I think I've always been young at heart.
It seems like every challenge that's presented to you, you just think, right, okay, what am I going to do next? Like a really young, you don't have a closed off, I'm getting older, this is too hard mentality.
I think it's a cross between the what I will call the Southern conservative upbringing I was given, and the life experiences I've had. Julie is my third wife. I introduce her as my last wife, just because she doesn't like it when I say, well, if something happens to you, I ain't doing this again. But I mean, we've been married for 25 years. Matter of fact, this year was our 25th anniversary. And we used to talk to each other just around the time we got married, our first year, and just marvel at how happy we were because of the experiences, the bad experiences we had before we met each other. We did not, and she was scared to death to get married early because she didn't want people thinking that we cheated on our respective spouses, which we didn't. But she was concerned about that and how it would look, because we did. I mean, that night that I went to rehearsal, we fell in love. I mean, that night. And I knew that if there was a way, I was going to marry her. I mean, I must have asked her to marry me 4 times before she finally said yes.
But I've just got to say, because I'm fascinated with mindset, because becoming a freelancer, I learned just how much crap we allow into our brains. It just takes up time and energy and space. And I love your approach to things because it's so straightforward. And I mean, I'm sure you have dark nights of the soul where you're like, drive yourself crazy with mental chatter, but it sounds like you have like a very like it sounds like in your life you're the narrator and you're a benevolent narrator that goes, right, okay, what's Rodney going to do about this now? And it just sounds like you just like take everything one step at a time and learn from the past and go, and that's refreshing. Well, because all the insecurities, you don't need it.
I still have a real strong faith in Christ. I mean, I still carry that with me. Right. I shudder to think about when I say that to people, they immediately go, oh, great, KKK, he's a Trumper, he's this, he's that. I get angry about that because it frustrates me when I try to behave like I believe my God wants me to behave and others are not. And I've told people this because I just got to tell you, I don't care what you're doing behind closed doors. I don't care who you love. I don't care who you hate. I would rather you love somebody than hate them. If you're hating them, then you got issues. If you're loving someone and you're in love with that person, that's your business. It's not me. Because when I get to heaven, and I believe there's a heaven, God's not going to judge and talk to me about the guys down the street that are gay and married. He's not going to talk to me about the black man and the white woman who are married. He's not going to talk to me about the illegal alien that crossed the border so that he could make his life better for his family. He's going to talk to me about me.
Right. See, you know what? The thing is, the people you're talking about that judge and that create separation, because you and I have different beliefs, right? But I feel that I can agree with everything you say, as far as the point that I respect and honor everyone else's faith and belief. And I think the fact that they have faith and belief in something can teach me something. You can gain strength from that. Exactly. I don't care. I disagree with some of what other people believe in, but that doesn't impact me. I mean, leave politics aside completely, because that's just a minefield. But
as hard as it is to do.
But I have millions of friends as a result.
Exactly.
With millions of different experiences in life. Paths. And I wouldn't be me if I closed them off and never learned anything from them.
Exactly. I had an infant today. My routine is very, very odd because of when we're out here on the farm. It's not noisy, but our daughter is special needs. So by 7 o'clock in the morning, we have to be prepared for her. So I will go. I get up early. When I say early, I'm talking about 1:30 to 2:30 early, and I will have my quiet time. I may record, I may do other things, but then I head to the gym. Planet Fitness is open 24/7. So I go to the gym. I get home anywhere this summer between 5 and 6:30. Well, I
In
go
the
straight
morning?
yes, I go straight to my barn and I get work done while it's cool, because this summer is like you're experiencing. It's very hot and nasty. I'll get that done. Well, while I was at it, I was out on the ladder in front of the barn because I'm hanging an awning off of it. I heard this racket on the highway. And I looked up, and God bless the little fella. His trailer has disconnected from his truck and landed in my hayfield. And he has turned right onto my road. And I'm just looking at him to see what's going on. Well, two of the guys got out, jumped out, got over to the trailer to look at it. And he started driving down my road because he was looking for a way to get to his trailer. Well, I motioned for him to come in. When he got out of his vehicle, he was concerned about getting stuck. Oh, he was Hispanic and spoke very broken English. I told him, don't worry about it. You just drive down the hayfield, you pick up your trailer, and you move on. Well, when he got finished and started to leave, I motioned him towards me so that I knew because the way he was coming out, he was never going to get out on the road. So I needed to bring him back towards me, towards my barn, get him back facing the right direction so he could get on his way. Well, when he finally got up by the house, I realized his brakes were locking up. So he wasn't pulling his trailer, he was dragging it. And I said, you got to stop. And he's tearing up the grass. I didn't care. Grass is grass. It'll grow back. But he stopped and got out and said, oh my gosh, in his broken English, can I leave it here? Absolutely. Leave it here all you want. But before he leaves, he gives me his name and number. It says, you need concrete work. You buy the concrete. I do all the labor for free. And I didn't need that. I'm just trying to help a guy that I know he's nervous. The other two kids that were with him, I say kids, they were probably between 20 and 35. Neither one of them spoke a lick of English, I could tell. I grew up in Miami. I can tell when a Hispanic person can't speak English.
But it's human meeting human.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I remember working at coffee shops and customers would come in and you would be their friend for that 5 minutes.
Exactly.
And we're humans.
Exactly.
And
well,
it's there's something
and I'll go ahead
that.
and give you your segue. That's how I started the podcast. My podcast.
Yeah.
My podcast was started out of a need that I saw for new people back in summer of 2018, where new people would ask, and this is before the pandemic, and I mean it just doubled during the pandemic. New people would get on social media, some of the Facebook narrator groups, and say, "Hey, how do I get started?" And
they get yelled at every single time.
There would be a handful of people helping, and there'll be another handful that would absolutely obliterate them with, why aren't you searching? Why aren't you searching the page? Yeah. Stop asking the same questions over and over.
No matter what question they asked. That's the stupidest question any human being ever.
If you asked how to pronounce Mary Poppins, it's been asked, look.
So you didn't search the 80 million posts.
You didn't search. It's been done. So I decided that I was going to learn.
Can I just interrupt one thing I have to say? I just want to give a shout out because James Romick is on this call.
Yes, he is.
There was a post like that. And even I like to think that I'm like, I don't comment. Maybe I'm not patient, I don't comment. And it was like, so you wanted to yell, what?
Sure you did.
And James handled it with kindness you wouldn't believe.
Well, and it's hard.
I was like,
it's hard when some of the questions new folks ask are so out there. I mean, even the ones that ask, do I really have to read the whole book? I mean, I get it. You kind of understand it. It's kind of like the first time you're doing it and you're going to move through, and I'm just going to plug in my mic and I'm a narrator,
Yeah,
A
this
lot
was
of
close
them,
to that. And even after he kindly gave the right answer, the person didn't want to hear it.
well,
And he
yeah,
was
because a lot of them
very
are just
kind.
fishing.
Yeah.
They're doing what I call the shopping for an answer. You keep shopping till you get the answer you want, then okay, I'm done shopping. I got
Yeah.
my answer. And then when it goes south, that's the person that's going to private message you and say, hey, you led me down the wrong road. You know, so I decided I was going to start this podcast and just give it away. Let anybody that wants to listen. Please learn. Please figure it out. Which is why after the first year, I did the casting director series because people were coming up to APAC and they didn't know what to expect with director diagnostics and speed dating. How do you deal with that? What happens? So I asked the casting directors. You know, I asked Dan and Julie from Penguin Random House. I asked Andy Arndt with Lyric. I asked Grover Gardner at Blackstone. I asked them, Eric Black at Dreamscape. I got Brandy and Gina at the time before Gina left Tantor. I asked them all the same questions, and it was all about helping new narrators figure out how to navigate, especially how not to be a pain to a publisher.
And Laura has just said, we met at the Northeast Narrator Retreat. I told you then, but I want to tell you again how much the podcast helped me. And I still love to listen to it. So thank you for the time and energy you put into each episode.
And I hope everybody continues to listen to it and love it. I mean, when it gets, and here's what I'm trying to do to make it easier. I have been over the last 3 weeks putting my episodes together so that when you want to listen to Dion Graham, you don't have to download 4 MP3s. You can just download 1. And then
they end up in 4 MP3s? Do you interview them in 4 segments?
I make them episodes. So because I believe that a podcast should be short, sweet, to the point. Okay. So when I break them up, the interviews will generally last for narrators between 35 minutes. I've had one upwards of an hour. And it just depends on if you're like me and you're verbose and you like to tell a story, well, then you'll answer that question with as many words as you can. Like I say, I give the Zane Grey answer.
All the words.
Zane Grey is one of those guys that thought if 3 words will work, 40 will be better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the way he writes, which is why I love his work. And there are some people that, yes. Okay. How did you get started? I went online. Okay. Can you elaborate? I mean, there are some you gotta pull it out of them,
I can't wait to binge on it. I mean, I have to be careful because the thing is with Cup of Joe, I never find time to actually be on top of audiobooks, but I've been wanting to because I think Anna Clements was on it. Was Anna, and she was like so impressed and so happy with you on the podcast.
Dion Graham, James's episodes will start Monday, this coming Monday.
Lovely. It's a great. Okay, I'm going to sneak this question in because people are asking questions. I don't want to lose her.
Okay.
Lauren wanted to know, how has your faith impacted your career and networking as a narrator? Has it?
I believe that I don't have to tell anybody my faith if I behave like my faith tells me to behave. If I'm a good guy.
It's who you are. It's who you are.
Who I am. Yeah. People are going to say, wow, I want to be like that guy. I don't want people to go. I mean, I've told this story too. People have asked me, why do you give it away? Well, number one, there's nothing, and I mentor for free. And when somebody needs some help, I'll just tell them, well, just DM me, we'll Zoom, and I'll answer all your questions.
Or they're telling you should charge for the podcast, is what they're saying?
People are wanting me to monetize my podcast. They think I should be, I have a couple of people that tell me that I should charge every time someone does a Zoom session with me. I don't do that because I think repeating the things my coaches have taught me is taking money from them. Okay. So one of my first things to do is tell them, these are the coaches you should be going to, and you'll learn all this stuff the same way I did. But here's what Johnny will tell you. Here's what Carol has told me. Here's what Sean has told me. Here's what David has told me. Here's what, Scott Brick has taught me. Here's what Joel taught me. And more than anything, one of the reasons that I try to behave well, because I don't want my coaches to be like my parents were when I was 10 and be embarrassed about the way I behave. I want my coaches to be proud. Yes,
Oh, I
I
love
taught
that you
him.
have a sense of
I
obligation to
I
the.
I taught him. I taught him how to do those things, and he's good at it. And he's a nice guy too. Other
What have
than
you taught yourself? Like, how long have you been narrating? When did you start narrating?
2014 for 8
Okay, so
years.
have a chat with 2014 Rodney. What would you tell him to change or do differently now that would save him so much time, even if it's mindset or recording or whatever?
Relax. Go to APAC now. Don't wait.
Really? Why?
Because after I got to APAC and began to develop relationships with those publishers, and when I started getting my work.
Oh gosh, I have to go to APAC, don't I? I loved the Zoom world while it lasted.
I know but it's, the good thing is Michelle's made it a one-day event on the 27th of March. And I think it'll be fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would tell that, Rodney, is relax. The work that's yours is going to come. Be kind. Don't be nervous. And everybody starts out somewhere. So just put one foot in front of the other and you'll be fine. And you do
You know
not,
what, I bet you
have
are
to
a
respond
terrific
to
dad.
everything on Facebook.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I bet
You
you're a
don't. I mean,
terrific dad. Your kids are so lucky.
well, I really wasn't a good dad till we had a girl. Okay. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I was a pretty crappy dad to my oldest son. I didn't get to be a dad to my very oldest son because I didn't meet him till he was 17. That's a whole nother story.
But do you get to see him now?
I do. We have a great relationship.
Okay,
Yeah,
see, that's good.
yeah, we do.
It's not who we used to be that counts, it's who we are now.
I mean, yeah, it is. It all works out.
Yeah. I think it's all lovely. Okay. I'm gonna hit you with this one, Rodney.
Go ahead.
It's and I think Kim is missing. So basically, I'm gonna kind of fudge on my capsule. Thank you, Lisa. There is like, how we all have that one word we cannot remember for our life. So
Okay.
some schools, I heard a long time ago, they would like bury a time capsule. And
Okay.
all the kids in the class would put something in it. So future generations or whatever would dig it up and they'd see something from class of 1886 or whatever. So if you were going to put something in the time capsule that would either be words of wisdom for people to see in 60 years on YouTube, or a funny joke, or what you would like to be remembered for, what would you put in that time capsule? Oh, you were ready for it. Paperback.
This is my first audiobook that I ever listened to on cassette. Louis L'Amour, Riding for the Brand, read by a gentleman named John Randolph Jones.
How old were you? When was that?
It was probably from somewhere between 1994 and 2003. I spent a lot of time working as the regional vice president for the new union that took over for air traffic controllers. I represented the southern region, which includes all the typical southern region states plus San Juan and the Virgin Islands. At the time, we had both St. Thomas and St. Croix. And we had over 87 facilities, I think, at the time, represented close to 3,200 people. And I did a lot of travel by car. And so I listened to these cassettes, and this is the first cassette I had. And it's the one that said, you could probably do that one day when you're not so busy. So I keep that in my booth as kind of a good luck charm.
I love that. Do you ever listen to your own audiobooks? Like as a listener, not with a critical ear, just as a listener.
Only when my daughter says, Daddy, can we listen to this or that? She likes to read the horror stuff that I've done. She's been reading one called Hell Hollow, which is and the reason I put that on her is because it's a coming of age book,
Okay.
as well as kind of spooky and scary. It's about a 10, 11, 12-year-old boy that lives in Atlanta, and his parents are rich, and instead of taking him on vacation, they dump him with grandpa in Tennessee. And he has an experience that grandpa had when grandpa was his age, so or younger. So only when she says, "Alexa, play Hell Hollow," do I get to hear myself narrate. And then because my wife is my proofer, I have to listen to myself back when she says, "You made another mistake. What were you thinking?" So yeah, it's kind of fun. But now that she's a proofer, sometimes I have to wait in line for her. I don't get head of line privileges anymore. So
I
that's
love that. Oh, she proofs for other people as well.
She does. She does.
Oh, I love
She does.
that.
She's not that busy because we decided after the pandemic to homeschool our daughter. It's worked out really, really well for us. It gives us a flexibility that neither of us ever enjoyed or experienced growing up. You were locked in at home from, June to May, or whenever, for me, from Labor Day to the first week of June going to school. They go to school now early. Matter of fact, Tennessee, I think, starts August 1st, and they get out just before Memorial Day. Because we've partnered with a local Christian homeschool group called Aaron Academy, our school year is July 1st through June 30th. So as long as we get 180 days done in that time, then we pretty much go wherever we want. And because we can be mobile and we do a lot of things online, we've done school on the road.
That's
She'll be in the back seat. She'll do stuff, and I'm the math teacher. Mom does pretty much everything else.
I think that's lovely. That's like an idyllic childhood. And did you say you're on a farm, so she gets to see animals and everything?
It's really a hobby farm. I have more land, and we don't have animals anymore. I had chickens. We had a couple of bull mastiffs, and they died probably about a year, 2 years apart, and everybody's heart is broken. And we're talking about animals again, but once you get animal, you got to be tied to the farm. So
you're talking to a woman that has one little bird, and I won't leave the flat.
Right. There you go. There you go.
If you give me a whole farm,
I'd be in that case. Yeah.
I'd be out there staring at them. Are you sure they're okay? They're not getting a draft.
Yeah. So we keep it moving, and we try to keep things. She's very high functioning. She's not nearly as bad as a lot. She's very immature for her age, which is probably why she and I get along so well. Because Dad gets her, but Mom gets frustrated because she loves to sit and watch football with me, and she'll scream and say the same things I do. She just doesn't know why she's saying them.
But just like you and your dad.
Yeah, just like me and Dad. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would not trade what's going on right now, and we're not going through any really good time right now. We're kind of in a valley, if you will, just like I'm in a dry spell. But I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I know that
that's the goal, isn't it? What we're all working for, just to get to the place where we kind of set our lives up in our happy way, and we can just be ourselves and deal.
I'm learning things about me. I'm learning things about my wife. I'm learning things about our daughter, and they're all learning things about each other. So we're pretty tight. We're close knit. We try to stay that way, and we just try to. It's as simple as it sounds. We just try to treat people the way we want to be treated.
It's lovely. Okay, I'm going to hit you with one last question.
Sure.
It's been snuck in under the wire. From James, what's your favorite team?
Oh, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan.
Are we talking football? Is that football?
It's all about the U and football. College football is Miami Hurricanes. Pro football is Miami Dolphins. And I am a big Titans fan, because I think they have a chance to be really, really good over the last 2 or 3 years.
James says Cleveland Browns.
God bless you. You got the guy now, if he can make it, He's not the one I want my, want to fashion I want my sons to be like, but hey, he's your quarterback.
Do you get to watch it like Thanksgiving dinner? Do you like all sit down and watch football together? Like your family and friends?
Thanksgiving is a very unique time for us because we do a lot of cooking and we invite anybody that wants to come over. So I'll smoke 2 birds. My wife will make all the fixings, and then she makes a giant sheet of banana pudding for me that sometimes I share. And then, we just kind of veg out and we'll watch football. My daughter wears her out starting in May, asking me when spring training and when college football is. And then I'll give her the places to go for the countdown so that she doesn't have to bother anybody. But my wife knows that as soon as college football starts, pretty much all but maybe 2 days a week, we're going to be in front of the TV watching some kind of football.
I love the idea. I miss that. Once we became vegetarians, Thanksgiving kind of lost its sparkle because we're over here. We tried to maintain it and like invite Americans we knew over and pretend we're still in America. But once you become a vegetarian, I was cooking a turkey. I looked over and we had a bird. And I just remember thinking, oh, I can't do this anymore. Right. I swear he was giving me the side eye.
Very well. Thinking, oh my gosh, am I next?
Yeah. Rodney, we have covered a lot. This has been a joy.
It's been a lot of fun for me too.
I'm so happy I got to meet you. Now I'm going to, I told Rodney I didn't allow myself to listen to the podcast before this call because I don't like to know anything about the guests so we can learn everything together. And now I'm so going to go binge on your podcast.
You just go to the website, download whatever you want, and probably before the end of the year, I'll have them all up in single episodes. And the only thing that's different is I'm taking out all the music beds and all that stuff I'm taking out. So basically, you get to hear me say, "Welcome to this episode," to goodbye.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I will check it out. I'll definitely.
Always a lot of fun. Thanks for everybody attending. I know you're busy. I know it's hot. I hope you learned something about me, and I hope you still like me when it's over.
You are fabulous. I am now your total fangirl. And the video will be up in 2 weeks, guys.
Lauren,
and I'm going to send Rodney the chat so he can read all the wonderful things you guys said about him. So thanks so much, Rodney.
Lauren, Lisa, y'all be good.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thanks.